I never thought that learning how to persuade someone would become a life skill I'd treasure. It all started one summer holiday when I was 11 years old, and my grand idea was to convince my mum and dad to let me adopt a dog. I had it all planned out, or so I thought. It wasn't that we hated dogs, quite the opposite actually. Mum often gushed over her friend Linda's golden retriever, and Dad occasionally mentioned the old sheepdog he grew up with on his family's farm. But every time I brought up the idea of getting one, their answer was a firm, "No, Oliver, absolutely not." I decided I needed a better strategy. This wasn't going to be just any regular, please, please, please campaign. No, I needed something brilliant. I needed to present my case like a proper grown-up. Step 1. Research. First, I dived into research. I read books from the library about different breeds, their temperaments, and how to care for them. Did you know that some dogs need more exercise than others? I didn't until then. My list of potential breeds narrowed down to a beagle. Small, intelligent, and friendly. Perfect for a house with a garden, but not a farm, which we obviously didn't have. I wrote all my findings down in a notebook with neat headings like advantages of owning a dog and objections and my solutions. Step 2. Address their concerns. Next, I had to think about their objections. Mum always complained about the mess and smell that pets bring, so I researched grooming tips and cleaning products. Dad, on the other hand, worried about the cost. Do you have any idea how much it costs to feed a dog, let alone take it to the vet? He'd asked the last time I mentioned it. So I made a chart. Yes, an actual chart. I wrote down the estimated costs of dog food, vaccinations, and even a bit of money for toys. Then I figured out how I could contribute. I offered to save my pocket money and even walk neighbours' dogs for extra cash. Step 3. Presentation. The moment arrived one rainy Saturday evening. Mum and Dad were sitting in the living room sipping their tea. I walked in with my notebook and my chart, feeling like I was about to present to Parliament. "Mum, Dad, I've prepared something I'd like to show you," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "Is this about the dog again?" Mum asked, raising an eyebrow. "Just hear me out," I said quickly. "I've done all the research and I've addressed all your concerns." I flipped open my notebook and started explaining. I talked about how a dog would teach me responsibility, how walking it would keep me active, and how the whole family would benefit from having a loyal companion. Mum nodded slowly, though I could tell she wasn't entirely convinced. Dad leaned back in his armchair and said, "And what about the cost, Oliver?" "Dogs aren't free, you know." "I've thought about that too," I replied, handing him my chart. "I've calculated the costs, and I'm willing to save my allowance and earn extra by helping Mrs. Thompson with her dog. Plus, I'll clean up after it and make sure it doesn't ruin Mum's rug." There was a pause. My parents exchanged glances. I couldn't tell if they were impressed or just amused. "This is very thorough, Oliver," Mum said, her lips twitching as though she were trying not to smile. "But it's still a big responsibility," Dad added. "Are you absolutely sure you're ready for this?" I nodded vigorously. "Yes, 100%. Step 4. Compromise. "How about this?" Dad said after a moment. "We'll foster a dog for a month. That way, you can see how much work it is, and we'll see if it suits our family. If it doesn't work out, we'll take the dog back to the shelter. No hard feelings. Deal? My heart leapt. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was close enough. Deal. The month of chaos. The very next weekend, we visited the animal shelter and brought home Max, a cheeky little beagle with floppy ears and boundless energy. He was perfect. Well, almost. Max loved chewing shoes, digging holes in the garden, and barking at pigeons. Cleaning up after him was no small feat, and he somehow managed to scatter fur in places I didn't think fur could reach. But I stuck to my promise. I walked him every morning and evening, picked up after him, and even learned to brush his coat properly. One evening, after Max had fallen asleep on the sofa, Mum looked over at me and said, "You've done well, Oliver." Better than I expected, honestly. "Does this mean we can keep him?" I asked eagerly. Mum smiled. "Let's just say he's grown on us." "What do you think, dear?" she said, turning to Dad. Dad shrugged, though I noticed a small smile on his face. "I suppose he can stay." "But remember, Oliver, this is your responsibility." "I know," I said, trying to contain my excitement. A lesson learned. Looking back, that summer taught me more than just how to care for a dog. It taught me the importance of preparation, addressing concerns, and most importantly, compromise. Max became a beloved member of our family, but he was also a constant reminder that sometimes achieving what you want takes more than just wishing for it. You have to work for it, and you have to prove you're ready for the responsibility. And so, every time I see someone struggling to convince their parents, their boss, or even their friends, I always say the same thing. Make a chart. It works wonders. Persuasion, noun. Meaning, the act of convincing someone to do or believe something. Example, Clara used persuasion to convince her parents to let her adopt a dog. Determined, adjective. Meaning, being focused and not giving up on a goal. Example, Clara was determined to show her parents she could take care of a dog. Pleading, verb, meaning begging or asking for something in an emotional way. Example, instead of pleading, Clara decided to create a strong plan to get a dog. Objection, noun, meaning a reason for saying no or disagreeing with something. Example, Clara worked hard to answer her parents' objections about getting a dog. Chart, noun. Meaning a visual representation of information like a table or graph. Example, Clara created a chart to explain the costs of owning a dog. Figure out, phrasal verb. Meaning to solve or understand something. Example, Clara figured out how to prove she was ready for the responsibility of a dog. Compromise, noun, meaning an agreement where each side gives up something to reach a decision. Example, fostering Max was a good compromise between Clara and her parents. To address, verb, meaning to deal with or explain something. Example, Clara addressed her parents' concerns about the cost of taking care of a dog. Persistence, noun, meaning not giving up even when things are difficult. Example, Clara's persistence helped her convince her parents to keep Max. Impress, verb, meaning to make someone feel admiration or respect. Example, Clara's detailed research impressed her parents. Foster, verb, meaning to temporarily care for something or someone. Example, Clara's family fostered Max for a month before deciding to keep him. Loyal, adjective, meaning always giving support to someone or something. Example, Clara knew a dog would be a loyal friend to her family.